He's enjoyed the best money can buy.
My conscience at this point was telling me, go and spend, spend, spend.
Unfortunately, it was not his money.
I'm the bad guy.
The police were waiting for me.
Confessions of a Teenage Fraudster. Watch all episodes on BBC iPlayer.
Dead calm sea, crystal blue.
It's totally flat. It's nice. It's just ready for a swim.
We were near the southwestern tip of Greece.
We have this dream to travel the world.
To get out of the hamster wheel and live our life on a boat and sail away. Yeah, that's freedom. Suddenly, we heard a Mayday relay saying that a refugee boat had capsized.
They told us there was people in the water.
Yeah.
And we didn't know if they could be alive or if they were dead.
الخفر اليوناني ربطونا بحبل على اساس بدهم يساعدونا بس غرقونا.
Why should it capsize in this weather, in these conditions?
اللي صار صراحة جريمة لا تغتفر.
The practices of the Greek Coast Guard started to change. Masked men, black shirts and fatigues.
Out of the blue, I got this call from a commando that I had been in contact with.
Okay, so you're going on a mission then?
And he doesn't know I'm a journalist undercover.
Did you see that he just took a baby?
The smoking gun proved that you cannot deny anymore.
Ils ont commencé par le Camerounais. Ils ont balancé le Camerounais dans l'eau.
Being thrown overboard, particularly without life jackets, that's murder.
Tout doucement, la main s'échappait. L'eau avait permis le pinko.
There was always going to be an Adriana. It was waiting to happen.
It is the absolute strongest contrast you can have. Living our dream or fighting for your life.
انه انا احلى شيء يعني الصيفيه انا بصح لي اقضيها كلها بالمي بالمسبح على البحر باللاذقيه.
كثير بحبه يعني بحبه كثير كثير البحر يعني خاصة إنه هو فيه شغلات مفيدة للجسم كمان يعني الأملاح بتداوي الملح بيلحم الجروح. بهذا الفيديو وقتها إنه كنا هيك أنا ورفيقي يعني كنا منقذين. كانت وظيفتي بقلب المسبح كانت مدرب أي حدا لا سمح الله يعني إنه أي حدا بيغرق بهي المنطقة أنت تتعرض لمسؤولية كبيرة يعني.
I'm the Brussels bureau chief at the New York Times. Together with my colleagues, we reported on what happened to the Adriana. How it all began is that having arrived from different parts of the world to Libya, the asylum seekers and migrants were transferred to a beach close to the port city of Tobruk.
أنا لما قررت أطلع على أوروبا يعني المهرب كان دايماً يوعدنا إنه الرحلة VIP
الشغلات الإثباتات اللي كان يجيبها كان يجيب لي صور ويقول لي ليك السفينة ووصلت. أنا صدقته وقتها.
صراحة السفينة أسوأ من اللي ببالي كتير. أنا بفكر حالي يعني راح أقعد مرتاح أو هيك أو كان السفينة سيئة جدا والله.
في ناس خافت إنه تطلع بالسفينة، إحنا ما كنا بنعرف إنه هي السفينة متهالكة، كان في عالم واقفة وراها ومع عصايات ومع كبولة كهرباء ومع.
There was a small gang of people around the captain who were tasked with brutally enforcing discipline on the ship.
طول يطلع بالرحلة، ما في شيء اسمه إنك أنت ما تطلع بالرحلة. كبوهم وطلعوا ناس بدالهم حكوا إنه أنتم رحلتكم قريبة، يومين وبتكونوا هنيك. يعني ما في داعي إنه يكون معكم كل هالأكل.
كتير رغم كل الصعوبات اللي كنا عم نواجهها كتير مبسوطين. هلا احنا تقريبا مشينا ب9 6 4:30 الصبح مشيت السفينة.
We know that there were approximately 750 people on board the Adriana from a range of nationalities, and that number includes women and children. Until this day, this shot of the Adriana is the only official video of the ship that we have. I just became more convinced that something untoward had happened.
What a pleasure it is to welcome the Greek Prime Minister, Kyriakos Mitsotakis, to the European Parliament. No man, woman, or child should die at sea trying to reach Europe. And this isn't a Greek issue. This is on us.
We've been able to reduce migration flows by 90%. The Greek Coast Guard has saved tens of thousands of people. They are doing an incredibly difficult job, sometimes having to save people without life vests, people who cannot swim. Thank you also for understanding what it means to be on the external borders of the European Union, doing a very difficult job protecting not just the Greek borders, but also the borders of the European Union.
The Greek government said that they were elected to stop migration to Greece. They said, and continue to say till this day, that they observe a tough but fair migration policy.
Over there you see Turkey. It's a very short distance away from Samos, actually. The shortest point is less than 2 kilometers away. It looks quiet now, but there's a lot of currents up there. Before all of this, I worked for a corporate. And I had a 9-to-5 job. I used to be more carefree. In 2021, a Greek friend of mine asked me if I wanted to go on a hike with him. I remember this was a big turning point for me. We see a few men, 4 men, they were wearing normal clothes, and we were having a conversation with them. We went a bit deeper into the mountains, and at some point we see life jackets laying around there. Shoes, backpacks, ripped off clothes, a notebook in the bushes, and it was a child's handwriting. Something in me was really curious, like, who are those people? Where are they now? I see on the other mountains, I see some black dots of people. So I start filming it. Yeah, and they move uphill. And I'm like, wow, maybe these are the people from who these clothes are, right? And then all of a sudden, these men that we met like 15 minutes ago, They're kind of like appearing out of the bushes. And my friend is like, row me, and there's some sort of like panic. The energy really shifted as well. And then one of these men, he stands close to me and he says to me that I have to delete my video on my phone. So I deleted it, but it went into my deleted folder. But the men also wanted my passport. They wanted to bring me to the police station. I realized that this is the place where the boats with migrants and refugees are arriving. All these bits and pieces, they have a story, and you're wondering, like, who are these clothes from? And where are those people now?
When I was out there in Greece, working in the situation, the amount of stories that you would hear that would be young volunteers getting hysterical about things. There's no real hard evidence, or none that I have seen. There's hearsay and rumor. The first rescue that I was ever involved in was when I was about 17 or 18 years old. I would estimate that I've been involved with about 150 to nearly 200 rescue missions.
Pulling one person out of the water, third person can be, what do we need? People on the back of the straps, yeah?
There is a real sense of humanitarian responsibility. The people that come for their training come to us, most of those are working in the Mediterranean. Yeah, that was great. Well done, guys. That week in June, me and my team were working on a project doing search and rescue training, and yet the information about that situation on the Adriana got to us very quickly.
"48 hours into the journey, food and water had run out.
قاعد وعم استفرغ، بشرب شوية مي هيك، كنت مخبي عينين مي، بشرب شوي منها هيك بستفرغ. السفينة من الطابق اللي يعني هي صايرة مثل 3 طوابق، في مكان بالنص هو هذا فيه غرف وتحته الفريزة وفوق السطح.
The lower deck would not be for passengers, it would be for your catch to be kept cool. It's not a place where people should be.
وكانوا اللي قاعدين بالطابق اللي بالنص 90% منهم باكستانيين، واللي كانوا قاعدين فوق من ورا سوريين وفلسطينيين.
Smugglers are profiteering off other people's insane levels of distress and crisis.
Smugglers made more than £3 million off the Adriana.
I'm showing my face for my own safety. If my face and my name is out there and connected to the story, it's a lot harder for the Greek government, the Greek police justice system, but also for other European countries to not charge me, to not prosecute me. Kept hearing the stories, masked men hunting down refugees, abducting them, throwing them in the back of an unmarked van with no license plates. They told me how when the asylum seekers land on Greek soil, the race for them begins, the race against the masked men. It was a little bit too much for me to believe at first. The European Union country and such things happening there.
Not only am I Greek, but my parents come from islands. And that means that the connection to the sea is vital to my identity. It used to be the place I felt peace and joy and a sense of belonging. After some of the practices of the Greek Coast Guard started to change, the sea became something darker for me. There are increasing reports of border violence. People arriving in Greek territory, getting off their inflatable boats with an intent to seek asylum, and basically getting put back on boats by the Greek Coast Guard. Masked men, black shirts and fatigues. People suddenly disappeared. Kept sort of drifting into this beautiful sun-drenched reverie that you do when you're floating, and thinking about people drowning in the same waters. I had watched dozens of videos that did not show complete episodes of this kind of conduct by the Greek authorities. Because there was no continuity of evidence, the Greek authorities were able to deny it. We need someone to actually film clearly what's happening from start to finish.
There was only one way for me. I have to get evidence. One day I got a message from an informant that there has been a landing that day in the morning, and that there also has been a kidnapping. A group of people have been taken, and that there is a convoy of cars and a van with the people in it. Suddenly there was the convoy, all without license plates. They are going at extremely high speeds. Then suddenly there was a guy in the middle of a road and told me that I have to stop. It's a quite unusual sight, someone with a hoodie on Lesbos, especially on such a sunny day. I had my dash cam running, and I kept asking him out of the car, "Who are you? Why are you stopping me?" Takes out his phone and starts making a phone call. I scream out of the car that I will continue driving. He tries again to stop me and gets quite angry. But I kept driving quite slowly. Then he starts running. Obviously was quite stressed, running quite fast down the road to this bay. Suddenly, a car came towards me and blocks the road. Then there is a police officer. In the police station, they then revealed that the guy in the green hoodie was also a police officer. There were also two other police officers there, and they told me that they will charge me with resisting a police officer. I told them that it's not true like that, because he didn't show me any ID, and that I obviously have it on video also. And they dropped this idea right away. While they were operating on my dash cam, they also turned it on and took a few pictures of themselves, so I got a few extra material. On that day, I first found out how deeply linked the police is with this entire operation of the kidnapping and the deporting of asylum seekers. And the most important thing was that I found out where they are deporting the people. And this was the missing link for what I had always planned, to film them. يعلى الموج بس فترات محددة، يعني يعلى ساعتين تصير السفينة تطلع وتنزل بشكل مرعب.
The people on board the ship became aware of the fact that they were lost.
نسأله للقبطان أو نسأل حدا من الطاقم وين صرنا إحنا؟ وين صرنا بالبحر؟
The anxiety would have increased on board.
شعور الرعب بس حكى لنا إنه إحنا ضايعين بنص البحر، كان قدامنا كله بحر وما كنا شايفين أي شيء على طريقنا.
ما كذب، وعود كذب، خلص إنه راح توصلوا ومنوعدكم وهاي.
The captain or whoever was trying to direct the ship had lost control of it.
من الصبح خلصت المي. هذا كان أكثر شيء رعب الناس على السفينة.
بلشت العالم تفكر كيف من الصبح كيف بدها تقوم تشرب من الخزان تبع تبريد المحرك، هذا اللي مقابلنا.
If you don't drink for 3 days, then you will drink anything.
كان فيه ريحة مازوت، غالبية الشباب اللي حواليه كانوا عم يبولوا بهذا الخزان، بس ما في حل تاني غير إنه نشرب منه، لأنه هو مية البحر أسوأ بكتير منه لهذا الخزان.
Diverting the water to cool the engine and diverting it away for water to drink, now the engine is not being cooled, and an engine not being cooled does not run for very long at all.
كان في واحد عم بيعيط بيقول يا جماعة في حدا عم بيموت، في دكتور على السفينة. قابل حالات مثل هي الحالة بالمسبح خلال مسيرة عملي. عرفت فورا إنه هو أكيد بيكون بالع لسانه بهي الشغلة. عملت له إسعافات أولية، قدرت أفتح تمه، هو كتير صعب إنك تفتح تمه. قدرت أفتح تمه وسبته واسحب له لسانه، أخذ النفس أول مرة.
Lack of water, continual exposure to the environment, sun during the day, very cold during the night. It's really, really hard to sustain life in that environment.
حكينا مع القبطان، شو المهم أخذ منه السرية.
هلا أنا شبه متأكدة إنه هن رح يقوموا بالإنقاذ، بس بدكم تطوروا بالكم، ما رح تكون شغلة فورية، تمام؟ ما رح تكون شغلة فورية.
The first contact with the outside world from someone on the Adriana happens in the morning of June 13. The condition that the Adriana is in, with its hundreds of passengers, becomes an object of concern for authorities in multiple countries and places.
There are dead people on board this boat. That means it's the highest grade of distress. If an SOS or a Mayday call is issued, then action needs to be taken.
Frontex dispatch an aircraft operating at that time in that area, and they're able to do that quite quickly. Frontex is the European Union border agency, and over the past decade, it has simply grown to become the biggest agency in the EU. They have almost €1 billion in funding. They're supposed to be exemplary of what the EU wants border management to look like. Firm, very professional, very technological, but always with respect to human rights.
My role is related to the fundamental rights. So what rights do migrants have? What obligations do we have in that context as an agency? What obligations do member states have? And it's my responsibility to be critical and investigate when things go in the wrong way. Yes.
From there on, you do all those
اجت الدرون الساعة 10 11 اجت الدرون صورتنا الحمد لله احنا مالنا منسيين، عم يجينا مساعدة. طبعا صار موقف كثير انبسطنا فيه، هو انه اجا طير عصفور وقف على راس واحد شاب من اللي كانوا قاعدين معنا، فكتير انبسطنا انه احنا قربنا على اي ارض. احنا قلنا 4-5 ايام مو شايفين ولا شيء غير البحر.
Just as Frontex gets aerial images of the Adriana, something quite extraordinary is happening. That image is beamed into Frontex's quite state-of-the-art operational center.
This is Frontex Situation Room, where we have a really good overview of the situation in the central Mediterranean. I think it's a very good image of what it could look like on a migrant boat, where they clearly risk their lives in a very, very sea-unworthy situation. Way too many people on a way too bad boat, and that's of course part of the problem that we're struggling with. What time, when to alert people about a possible emergency situation. When is the right time, right? If we just flag it too early, then maybe there's not even a dangerous situation.
If this was a European boat, it would be immediate call to arms. They know there are dead people on board.
طلعوا عالم من تحت قالوا لنا انه تحت في جثث بالطابق اللي تحتنا. كان عددهم ثلاث اشخاص وولد على الاغلب، لافينهم وقاعدين قدامهم.
لو انا من منظمة فرونتكس وشفت هذا المنظر، انا بخبر اي حدا مسؤول عن هذا الشيء يجي يساعد.
Over the past 2 years, with the active support of Frontex, we've been able to reduce flows by 90%.
I have one question. When, at last, will you stop lying about what's happening with the refugees?
Have you been to Samos? If you go to Samos, you will find an impeccable camp. We have a tough but fair policy on migration. We are intercepting boats as we have the right to do in accordance with European regulation.
Every time some sort of evidence pops up, the Greek Prime Minister is just saying like, no, Greece, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. That's not my orders.
This is our policy. We will stand by it, and I will not accept anyone pointing the finger to this government and accusing it of inhumane behavior.
It's like this open secret that they have here, and you feel the energy. It's like it's everywhere, but it's nowhere. This is the old camp, and at some point there was a fire, so part of it burned down. And now it's like an abandoned place. I used to work here as a humanitarian aid worker. This is the place where I heard these stories for the first time. It's kind of close to the ocean, to the sea, so it was easy for people to find. And the new camp, it's much further up the mountain.
If they reach it, they can register and they are saved. But before that, nobody knows they're there. There's a lot of things that makes it very difficult to reach the camp. It's like a cat and mouse game. Police gets warned. People from the military with masks.
They find them, they usually take their phones, they sometimes beat them, and then they are
putting them back on first a big ship of the Greek Coast Guard and then on a small rubber boat again without an engine.
Abandoning people at sea is a gamble. If it goes wrong, people will die.
These types of floating devices left in the open seas can truly be death traps.
The Coast Guard, primarily their job is about ensuring safety. Crews do it because they feel a compulsion to go and rescue. And that compulsion is really, really strong. For it to be flipped in the way that we're discussing here seems just terrifying. There's almost an unwillingness in my mind to contemplate that that could be true. And so I choose to believe it can't be. Is there hard fact with this?
There is very credible evidence.
To be honest, I never thought about giving up. I thought about it many times that I might or will not be able to accomplish what the high goal I set myself. Just keep on going and maybe it might happen, yeah. I have to videotape this operation because it's the only way that something will change.
Okay, the people informed UNHCR and MSF that they are here.
The only missing thing was where is the location of the deportation, where are they bringing the kidnappees on the boat. I was finally able to put the plan in motion because I had the location. It's okay. I had 2 cameras there. Okay, there's a boat coming. Still no one arriving, and the 2 guys on the boat just waiting. This is shaking so much. Fuck. Still nothing, and the Coast Guard boat is right over there. Feels really close because it is really close. Yeah, could appear any second, any minute. There's one van parked on the street. Yeah, people getting out. Masked men putting them on a speedboat. Fucking hell. And putting them on a Hellenic Coast Guard boat. clearly kidnapping. It's really a strange feeling watching a crime being committed in front of your eyes. Did you see that he just took a baby? The so-called protectors of the people. The criminals, you see it right here. Yep, there was another baby. Do you see it? And someone picked it up at the boat. Motherfuckers. Yeah, the boat is moving. Bringing them to the sea border between Greece and Turkey and throwing all the refugees on a life raft and leaving them adrift. Proof that you cannot deny anymore. The smoking gun. We also got the material from the Turkish Coast Guard, where it clearly shows the same people on a life raft where they found them. I go in the water for pleasure, but you always wonder it could happen any second that there is a dead body washed on the shore. So, yeah, my perception of the ocean and my feelings toward it changed a lot.
To think that anybody who chooses to work in this environment, in this occupation, to take this sort of line and then to do that, it's I mean, but we just need to look back at history, huh? We just need to look at what we're capable of as a species and what we can do to each other. And I'm an optimist, and I try to see the positive in people. Yeah, no, I'm sorry.
The Adriana was moving in international waters. It was quite firmly within the Greek authorities' search and rescue area. The Greek Coast Guard dispatched the 920. This was a law enforcement operation. It was not a search and rescue operation. There were several members of the Coast Guard Special Forces on the 920. They are armed, they wear masks or balaclavas. You have powers to organize a search and rescue mission. But you don't. Instead, you send armed men and a relatively small vessel. There was not going to be any effort to, say, evacuate the Adriana or escort it to safety. That wasn't part of the plan.
I served in the Special Forces of the Greek Coast Guard. I was the commanding officer. I think Greece is handling the situation very well, actually. Europe has made a decision which is founded from centuries of evolution that we have to be tolerant with people, and we have to approach every issue we face with a humanitarian approach. Obviously, there's a big discrepancy between the way we live in Europe and the way people live in other continents and countries around Europe. It's not an indication of a very well-functioning state to allow thousands of people unchecked to enter your borders. Seeing the vessel like that, crowded like that, obviously it's a disaster waiting to happen. And it's very irresponsible for the people that decided to move forward with such a journey.
They told us they were not told that they were going on a old, unseaworthy vessel and that they were going to be crammed on board.
I don't believe that. Before you board a vessel, you don't see what type of vessel it is. What did they expect it to be? A luxury yacht?
There is an allegation that Greek Coast Guard are endangering people.
There is no way in the Greek government ever to have a direct order or imply for the Greek Coast Guard or any other personnel to do something illegal.
Do you think it's possible that you've been left out of the loop? I want to show you a video. Just tell us what you can see.
I can see people getting on board the vessel. Doesn't seem like it's forceful.
Can you see any small children?
Yes, now I can.
Is the mother carrying the small child?
No, that's something that happens. The migrants traveling the Aegean Sea, very often they abandon the children. They don't seem to have the same affection that we have for children. To me, it's obvious that the mother or the father has abandoned the child. And someone is carrying it.
And are they wearing masks?
Yeah, that's obvious. They are wearing masks. What's wrong about it?
Who do you think they might be?
I can't guess.
Are they other migrants?
Might be. Probably not.
Who do you think they probably are? What is your hunch?
If you don't know for sure, then it's better to be silent.
Do you have any questions about that video?
I don't. Do you need to understand something that's not me trying to hide something? There are hundreds of videos showing the Greek Coast Guard saving people. Why save someone and let someone else die?
Should we take a break?
Yeah.
Have a cup of tea?
Yeah, it's a good moment.
Yeah, great.
I'll visit the loo. Δεν σου έχω πει πολλά, Για πες.
Τους βρήκαν μετά.
Ξεκάθαρα αυτό, εντάξει. Τι να πω όμως αυτός. Ξέρεις, απ' έξω βλέποντάς το, είναι ξεκάθαρο τι γίνεται. Δεν είναι. Δεν θέλει πυρηνική φυσική. Δεν ξέρω γιατί το κάνανε για μέρα μεσημέρι όλος. Δεν ξέρω τι... Ξεκάθαρα παράνομο, προφανώς. Προφανώς παράνομο. Διεθνές έγκλημα, διεθνές αδίκημα. Γάμισε μαζί. Τουαλέτα που έχει.
I sent an email to Frontex, to the Human Rights Office within Frontex, confronting them with the material.
On that day, it was a co-financed boat that Frontex was funding. So what we have asked for is a clear confirmation that this was a one-off mistake, a captain who was doing something that he shouldn't be doing, and strangely enough, that is taking a lot of time to confirm.
Do you believe that the processes filmed on that day is a one-off event, or do you believe it is widespread and happened on multiple occasions?
So that I don't want to go into, because that would also undermine the credibility that I have and the leverage that I seek to have with the national authorities.
We'd like to put direct questions to you, but you don't want to answer specific cases. For now, I'm talking in general terms. Is it acceptable to take babies from land and put them on rubber dinghies and abandon them at sea?
For sure not. That would be very, very problematic. For me, that would be inhuman and degrading treatment, but also risking the right to life. Depending on the circumstances, the distance from the shore and the way the water would be on that day, but certainly high risk that something would go wrong if you act like that.
احنا كنا راكبين بالقارب، انا كنت دايخ خالص، يعني نوم ما في، يعني شعور يأس لا يوصف صراحة.
Greece, being one of the world's most famous and ancient seafaring nations, does have hospital ships, larger Coast Guard vessels that are much more equipped to provide life-saving assistance to people who are being rescued. And there was one stationed at a port not far from the Adriana.
Greek Coast Guard doesn't have enough resources and enough assets to be able to deal with any kind of situation. So it's part of the operations planning to ask merchant ships to support any given operation.
The first ship on the scene is the Lucky Sailor, a commercial vessel.
It's a large vessel with a certain amount of search and rescue capability, but they were asked if they could provide supplies.
مرت سفينة من جنبنا وكانت قريبة شوي علينا، فصرنا شلحنا الكنزات وطلعنا فوق غرفة القبطان واللي كان قاعد وقف، مثلا أنا وقفت، صرنا نلوح لهم بالكنزات إنه إحنا هون كذا ساعدونا. بالفعل وقفت هاي السفينة.
White smoke is usually your engine failing. Anyone seeing it will know that there's something wrong with that boat.
عم بنصيح إنه إحنا بدنا مساعدة وبدنا أي شيء ومعنا جثة على السفينة.
وقذفوا حبل لعنا رابطين بآخره أكل ونزلوه بالمي. سحبنا هذا الحبل وجبنا الأكل هدول، بس الأكل كان هو الأكل تبع الطاقم، يعني يا دوب يكفي 30 واحد يمكن من سفينتنا كلها. طبعاً حتى هذا الأكل خبوه بغرفة الطاقم وما شفنا شيء منه.
راحت السفينة لأنه إحنا كنا ما وصلنا شيء، إحنا هلا ما شربنا مي.
The Lucky Sailor eventually leaves. We know from extensive reporting on the methodology of these smugglers that captains and these crew members actually are only paid on arrival. So these people who were telling potential rescuers, no, don't rescue us, we want to go to Italy, please go away, these people have skin in the game. They wanted to get to Italy in order to get paid. But that doesn't mean that all 700-odd people on the Adriana wanted to go to Italy. Our understanding, based on testimony, in fact, is that they just wanted to be rescued.
Faithful Warrior, it's a massive old ship, comes on scene after being instructed by the Greek Coast Guard to go and monitor what's happening there.
فصرنا نصيح إنه ما عاد بدنا مساعدة، احنا بدنا نطلع لعنكم. حاول شاب يشرح لهم طريقة انه كيف بدنا نطلع لعنكم مشان اذا مو سامعيننا.
In the hours of darkness, we see footage of the Adriana taken from the 920 with night vision.
It's this extraordinary video. The way the Adriana is swaying from side to side so violently. Some passengers were trying to climb onto the faithful warrior, in fact, to be rescued.
تكمش بالحبل وحاول يطلع بس فلتوا الحبل مدري يرخوا المهم الشاب قلب يعني ما قدر يطلع على الحبل. ما ضلوا عم يزتوا توست من فوق عم يزتوا توست لعنا على السفينة. احنا بدنا بس خلص نخلص من هالسفينة.
Seems very, very, very peculiar. Something's not right here.
It's really hard to get to the truth in a place where there's so much secret. Why are they doing the violence against the migrants? Who pays them to do this? What we need is someone that is doing this, that either feels proud of doing it or feels emotional or angry because of it. Maybe one day you can meet someone at a bar. And then I realized there's also this app called Tinder. Quite soon, I found someone that was dressed in a uniform, standing on the ship like this, like proud, and his bio said Special Forces. Here is the Greek, I believe this is where they wear the Greek flag, and this is probably, yeah, which unit he belongs to. The Special Forces, they are doing the most dirty jobs on the island. The Greek authorities keep saying that they always wear insignia, but on this photo it's clear that he's not wearing any signs on his uniform. They are kidnapping the people on the islands. They are using the violence against the people. So that could be a chance to get deeper to the truth. We started to chat a little bit. I mean, obviously that's quite right. We decided to meet up in the main city of Samos. Yeah, nice to meet you. Yeah. And then he gives me a phone call and he says also like, I'm on a warship.
What do you guys do then at the warship?
Just go out. I just knew it also, this is the guy. We're going on a date. Of course, I was nervous, but it also felt natural on some sort of level because I was on a mission and that mission was really strong. He also asked me, like, do you want to see me in my uniform? And he shows on his phone a photo of him in that uniform. And I'm like, something was hanging on there. And I asked, like, oh, what is that hanging on there? Oh. And he says, knives, we throw the knives. And he says, I hope it never came to this. This is a knife. You see, you grab it here and then... And I remember being like, wow, my whole stomach was like... So what did you have to do at the sea then? When you see a refugee boat? You drive them back? So you put like a rope on the boat, or what do you do? Yes. Ah, okay. Turkey. So yeah, they drive them back. And of course, I mean, I am the one that asks about the rope. He just says yes.
So they came here, you mean? Yes. And you should have stopped it?
Yes, but we never saw it.
And then they said you failed.
You failed. It's a
So every time like a boat arrives at Samos, they get angry at you for it?
Yes.
Every time?
Every time, yes.
This world.
Like this, yes. Which problem is
There was a boat with migrants and refugees that arrived on the island and we didn't see them, we didn't stop them. He's actually saying it's from the minister, these orders.
It was only when I did my own in-depth reporting in 2023 that I realized just how widespread, systematic, and organized the activity of these special forces, the masked men, was on the Greek islands. There's ample evidence that this is policy, partly because it follows very clear patterns. What they're doing to people is so specific, so coordinated, and so repetitive across geography and time that it can only be policy. I think irrespective of where people stand on the question of migration, one thing I think is less controversial is that asylum seekers and migrants should not be killed.
J'ai pris un visa du Cameroun pour la Turquie. Et de la Turquie maintenant, c'est des SMI que j'ai tenté la traversée. Il s'est avéré que le moteur a eu un petit choc. Il s'est arrêté complètement. Et il y a eu un silence de mort dans le boat. Des gens, des femmes criaient, les enfants pleuraient. Alors c'est comme ça qu'on a essayé de démarrer le moteur. Plusieurs fois, ça n'a pas pris, démarrer le moteur, ça n'a pas pris, démarrer. Et à un moment donné, il a relancé. C'était la joie totale. C'était les sourires sur les lèvres. Chacun était content parce qu'on était déjà proche de la Grèce. On voyait les sourires sur les visages et on voyait la joie sur les visages. À peine accosté, la police a débarqué derrière. Oh! Oh, ils commençaient à crier. Et puis ils ont retiré leur arme et ils ont commencé à tirer de part et d'autre. C'est comme ça que chacun prenait des directions différentes. Nous essayons de sortir de là où nous sommes cachés. C'est pour ça qu'ils nous effrayaient en tirant de part et d'autre. C'était un policier qui était habillé, c'était deux policiers qui étaient habillés notamment en noir, avec 3 autres gars qui étaient aussi en civil. Bien cagoulés, on ne voyait que leurs yeux. En fait, quand l'Ivoirien a essayé de fuir, il a sorti son arme. Il a dit, I will kill you. Don't move, I will kill you. If you move, I will kill you. C'est eux qui se sont chargés de nous dépouiller. Ils ont sauvagement tapé les coups de poing sur la tête, au ventre. La garde-côte, ils nous ont transvasés dans le bateau. J'ai compris là où on partait, c'était le qui-vive. Il y avait soit on devait vivre, soit on devait mourir. Ils ont commencé par le Camerounais. emporté le Camerounais et quand je lève la tête, je vois ils ont balancé le Camerounais dans l'eau. L'Ivoirien disait sauvez-moi, sauvez-moi, je ne veux pas mourir, sauvez-moi, sauvez-moi. Et puis à un moment donné, je n'ai vu que la main qui était à l'extérieur. Et puis le corps était à l'intérieur de l'eau. Et tout doucement, la main s'échappait. Jusqu'à ce qu'à un moment donné, l'eau avait enveloppé le corps.
People won't be, killing people in broad daylight. This doesn't happen,
Would they be killing people at night?
No, they don't operate too often at night. It's hard.
There's situations where people are being taken from shore, taken from a place of safety, and deposited in a place of danger at sea, or being thrown overboard, particularly without life jackets or any type of aid, then that's murder.
Ils m'ont balancé aussi dans l'eau. J'ai eu une force incroyable qui m'est animée en cet instant. Et j'ai pu vivre. Je veux témoigner pour tous ces opprimés, pour tous ceux-là qui sont passés par ce chemin. Je voudrais que mon passage sur la terre soit comme un témoignage pour les autres. La manière dont ils nous ont jetés, sans foi à l'œil, sans remords, sans pitié, sans chagrin, je me dis que c'était pas la première fois.
So talking in general terms, which is what you requested, if you see evidence of killings, what would your advice be?
So I will not use the terms because that's not the terms that I would like to refer to, because killing would seem to be to me an intentional act. So of course there could be people that indeed die, but they would not necessarily be killed. That's my point, right? They could die out of because of some tragic circumstances, but killing would seem to be that it's a premeditated, intentional act.
So somebody can die through a mistake, is what you're saying?
Yes, that's a very frequent, tragic, unfortunately, what we see on the central Mediterranean. People drown before they reach the shore or before they are rescued.
The evidence that we've gathered is that Greek Coast Guard operatives are wearing masks and are engaged in illegal activity, and people are dying as a direct consequence of that. And there is a culture of silence.
We are not silent. We are not shying away from stating what we know, what we see, the problems that we raise. We do that in an annual report. We do that in the report 5 times per year to the management board. We report to the European Parliament. So I guess you have looked at other sources, but not those.
I think it's important that you go on the record with this reality.
I think I'm not at all unwilling to engage with the reality, but I'm not engaging with media on the details of what we know or what we are investigating.
You are aware of multiple deaths, but they're all mishaps or accidents or mistakes.
So you're putting words in my mouth that I don't appreciate. So when you say multiple, I haven't used that word, so I don't know if you're trying to put me on the spot. So slowly I'm getting a bit annoyed if you're going to put words in my mouth.
I'm not putting words in your mouth.
There's a reason why Greece hasn't been punished in any way for what seems to be long-term, verified, systematic abuse of asylum seekers at its borders. And the reason is that European Union governments and the British government and the United States government, for example, are all aiming to limit migration as much as possible. This is really what motivates people to migrate illegally, putting their lives in the hands of criminals. 150 people on the Adriana were Syrians. If you're a Syrian passport holder, you can't just show up at an airport and buy a ticket and fly to Europe. Your chances of getting resettled legally are less than 2%.
الحرب إلى 12 سنة بسوريا. يعني أهرب من مكان أرجع لمكان، يتدمر بيتنا بالمنطقة نهرب على منطقة تانية، رد يتدمر بيتنا بالمنطقة الثانية نرد نهرب على منطقة ثالثة. هاد كان بيتي هذا مدمر واقع على الأرض كله. يعني أنا تقريبا أصدقاء الطفولة كلياتهم خسرتهم بالحرب، يعني كانوا وقتها ما عاد قدرت أعيش أكثر من هيك، قلت لهم إنه أنا إذا رح ضلني هون رح موت، يعني لازم أنا أطلع برا سوريا. كان علي خدمة علم، يعني طلع على الجيش وأنا ما كنت بدي أطلع على الجيش يعني كمان.
أنا عندي جيش. أنا عندي جيش كان سحبي يمكن 23/4 أو 22 ما بعرف هيك شيء، فطلعت من سوريا 19/4 قبل بكم يوم.
The 920 was covered in cameras. The people on the 920 had eyes on everything around the vessel. But all of these cameras were off or simply didn't work. There has never been any credible, real explanation of why the multiple cameras on the 920 were not recording the crucial events that unfolded.
The narrative coming out of the situation is that the Greek Coast Guard decided to tow the boat into Italian search and rescue zone, so therefore handing over the problem.
احنا طبعا ما حدا اي حدا مننا كاين بحار ولا كاين بيفهم بالسفن ولا كيف تمشي هذا الموضوع. خلص رباط حبل، اوكي، زبطوا الحبل للعالم اللي بمقدمة السفينة، ربطوا الحبل ومكنوه.
It's a gamble. It's a massive gamble to sort of make that decision. Okay, let's get it out of our water. Let's put it in someone else's water. Towing requires a setup. It needs to be from a very, very strong and fixed point close to the front of the boat, so in the bow.
يعني هو ماشي هيك، احنا هيك لسه صافي سفينتنا، يعني ما تعدلوا مو بشكل متوازي. مشي أول مرة نتعت سفينتنا هيك وانقطع الحبل.
The first tow line was severed somehow, and that would happen if a line came under tension too quickly.
ردوا ربطوه.
والسرعة اللي كنا ماشيين فيها احنا ارتعبنا، احنا انه اول مرة بنمشي بهيك سرعة، يعني احنا لنا 5 ايام عم نمشي شوي شوي، نيجي فجأة نشوف حالنا صرنا سرعتنا تعادل سرعة السيارة، يعني مخنا ما عاد يستوعب هذا الشيء.
There were some violent movements. It also suggests that it's been towed at too high a speed.
فارتعبنا بشكل مو طبيعي وصرنا نصيح ستوب ستوب، صرنا نصيح له بالانجليزي وكذا. فبالفعل وقف لمدة 5 ثواني أو 10 ثواني، رد مشي بنفس السرعة وراحت سفينتنا على اليمين هيك لحتى بلشت شوف العالم أنا عم تقلب. عم توقع على البحر. حاولت اتكمش بالحديد اللي جنبي، ما عاد شفت شيء هون.
The official report from the Greek Coast Guard is that this vessel just spontaneously capsized.
The Greek authorities say there was no towing of the Adriana and there was no interaction between their Coast Guard ship 920 and the Adriana, causing it to sink.
The suggestion that a boat would just sort of spontaneously capsize after being at sea for 5 days without capsizing, the weather conditions haven't changed. It is an extremely unusual occurrence.
The lie caught up with them so quickly. That's what was shocking to me. I remember when the story flashed on my phone that said that the Greek Coast Guard had admitted to actually attempting to attach a rope on the Adriana. It just made me wonder, what else are you not telling us?
ما لحقت استغرب كثير، كانت العالم مكمشة فيني. لما تكمشوا فيني كنت أنا عم بنضرب، كانت الناس عم تضربني.
People tend to react in an extremely panicked way. They grab hold of the thing that's closest to them.
يعني الأصوات بتخلي أي حدا يموت، مو بس يرتعب. يعني أصوات نسوان، أصوات أولاد، أصوات زلم كبيرة.
Many of the people that are trying to make this crossing are unable to swim. And if you don't have a life jacket on, you may sink immediately.
لما ارتخيت بالمي تركتني العالم، كروني انه صرت جثة. اجت موجة رفعتني، شفت منظر انا مستحيل انسى بحياتي. هذا المنظر، جثث مصفوفة صف، كانت جثث بني ادمين مصفوفة صف، كل جثة يعني ميتة بشكل. هون أنا وقتها غمضت عيني وتسطحت بالبحر وصرت أتفرج على السما، لحي حالي بأي شيء يعني مشان ما أفقد عقلي بهداك الوقت. كانت السما كتير فيها نجوم، كان منظرها يعني.
I remember so distinctly reading one testimony that said that I swam away from the Coast Guard ship because I saw the person with the balaclava and I was scared.
فلاشرات علينا بنجكتورات، بس ما قربوا، واقفين كلهم هيك نص الطاقم تبع السفينة الحربية. يعني احنا شايفين العالم بس بعاد، شايفينهم انه عم يتطلعوا علينا بس ما حدا منتكش يعني.
We've got 750 people in the water. Speed is of the essence. Seconds can count. There is no indication of a general mayday call made at that point. It's over 20 minutes until they send out a direct message to a private vessel in the area It's not at all in keeping with search and rescue protocol or procedure. I can't think of any reason why that happened. Anything that's not suspicious.
This ship had been in the presence of the Greek authorities for so many hours, and the rescue was done by a super yacht. It was called the Mayan Queen. It belongs to a Mexican billionaire. The captain of the Mayan Queen has never sat down and given a full account of what happened to the press.
I'm the captain, and I've been with the owners of the boat for 21 years. Beautiful yacht. I think it's the best there is. Many years ago, I think it was in 2009, we came to London. They had to open Tower Bridge for us to come in. The only information was a vessel in distress. So that's all we knew. We saw a Coast Guard boat, so we were calling and calling the Coast Guard boat. No answer. Obvious something was going on, but didn't know what. But then the eerie noise of the screams. So we could hear, so they would have been about only 50 meters in front of me, I suppose. And that's when I saw the first body on the starboard bridge wing. So, yeah, with binoculars, I could see the glint of whites, either their eyes or teeth or something, I don't know. But so immediately launched the rescue boat. The rescue boat is housed here in the rescue boat bay. It's an opening door that opens upwards. There's a crane which is attached to the rescue boat, swings out, lowers the rescue boat into the water with the crew in it. Altogether, we pulled 15 of them out. Also, the Coast Guard boat was doing the same, filling them all on the Coast Guard boat. The poor things must have been petrified, thinking every breath could be your last. The noise of the screaming, hard to forget. Other boats started heading towards us, and we could hear on the VHF the general mayday going out to tell all ships to come.
We heard the mayday, and we saw the flares in the horizon. Why should it capsize in this weather, in these conditions? That calm sea.
They told us on the Mayday relay that there was people in the water.
Yeah.
And we didn't know if they could be alive or if they were dead.
We had like 6-8 hours of sailing to go there. And I remember that we had to take a decision about heading towards the place or not.
The children heard that we were talking about people in the water. And they were like, what if some of them were dead? What should we take them on board or what?
We have to think about the security if it's refugees coming from Africa. They are in the water, fighting for their life.
Nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose, yes. So they will take over the boat. We don't know. Our boat is not built for that amount of people, so
We couldn't help.
I think actually we agreed to be better safe than sorry.
yeah. We were not aware of how tragic it actually was out there and how many people who actually died there.
طلعنا على الدرج. لما طلعنا على الدرج أنا كنت لساتني بحالة صدمة، لأنه قبل أنا كان في واحد طالع غرقان بقى أنا كنت عم بعمل له إسعافات أولية.
الخفر كانوا واقفين أول شيء عم يشربوا قهوة وعم يدخنوا. هذا البني آدم اللي ما بتفرق معه إنه هاي العالم كلها عم تموت قدامه، هذا ما فيه ضمير أو ما في عنده إنسانية أبداً.
أنا لما كنت على السفينة كنت كثير ساعد الناس، خاصة أي حدا يكون عنده ضعف تنفس بقى أنا كنت أدعمه في عملية CPR.
In the end, the 920 that had been dispatched to allegedly assist the Adriana was not capable. And they commandeered the Mayan Queen, the super yacht. The contrast was too stark to get your head around, and there are images of all these people disembarking a vessel that is kind of like the embodiment of luxury.
It was a tragic shipwreck in the international waters in the Mediterranean. We should be in no doubt that the real blame lies in the hands of the criminal gangs who packed the boat. It is very, very unfair to point the finger at the Greek Coast Guard.
The survivors are detained and interrogated by the authorities. Reading through the court documents, I distinctly remember the first instance where I noticed that a whole chunk of testimony from person A repeated itself underneath with person B. And this happened throughout the multiple testimonies of survivors, that the language was very similar or even verbatim the same.
بلش التحقيق، فوصلنا لنقطة أنه تبعية الغرق. فأنا قلت له أنه الخفر اليوناني ربطونا بحبل على أساس بدهم يساعدونا بس غرقونا. قام المترجم صار يقول لي لا ما بصير تحكي هيك، أنا ما بنصحك تحكي هيك قدام هاي المحققة. قام قلت له ليش؟ قام قال لي ما بنصحك تحكي هيك. قلت له بدي أحكي هيك.
That for me also really undermined the integrity of the process.
We are following this case. We have done our investigation to make sure that we do our share and more there too. We have to also wait for the judicial investigation and wait and treat it as a system of rule of law where we respect institutions.
You have a senior role to protect fundamental rights, and the most fundamental right is the right to life.
Yes.
And Frontex is involved in this. So
well, that's your words, right? So Frontex in this incident, if we're still talking about the Adriana, Frontex was involved several hours through aerial surveillance, but when the boat sank, Frontex had left. Frontex had no other connection than sighting the boat at this early stage.
You could simply say, do you know what? Frontex got it wrong. A mayday should have been declared. We have eyes on the vessel. We think everybody on that boat needs to be taken to safety. They're at risk of losing their lives.
In hindsight, that would, of course, have been an attractive course of action. But there are a number of these types of boats on a daily basis in the central Mediterranean, so it's also important to if you would make a call like that, that it would be at the right time and it would be legitimate. Otherwise, you would undermine the activities, the credibility of as an actor.
You just said that we have to make sure we don't undermine the credibility of the organization, which is Frontex.
No, I didn't say. I said the credibility of the Mayday call. So again, you're putting words in my mouth.
Okay.
So one more time and then I leave.
But
I'm sorry. No, I just want to insist that if you keep suggesting things like that and draw conclusions that are not correct, I will leave. I've warned you twice. A third time, I'm out.
Sure.
Okay?
Sure.
But I think you've asked what you want to ask, and I've spent my patience.
We all know that conflicts are not going to end magically, and people are going to continue to seek better lives in wealthier and stabler parts of the world. It is in the nature of humankind to move. It is an inevitable evolution of our species, and it is in response to adversity.
هو الموضوع مبكي، بس أنا يعني ما كنت أقدر أبكي لأنه أنا بالأساس يعني أنا ما أقدر أبكي يعني. ممكن تكون صدمة كانت علي، أنا هلا مو مصدق هذا الشيء اللي مخليني ما أبكي، بيجوز ما بعرف يعني أنا بس شغلات
ومتفقين احنا بهي القعده كنا متفقين انه نطلع مشوار، انه اول ما نوصل على ايطاليا انه بدنا نروح ناكل بيتزا مع بعض وناكل معكرونه وكذا وانه مشاريع كثير كنا مخططين لها سوا، ما قدرنا نحقق اي شيء من هذا. بهالصوره هي ما حدا بقي عايش غير انا للاسف. يعني فجأة هيك صار وراحوا، هذا أكتر شيء أنا ممكن ما بتحمل هيك شيء، أنا ضعيف قدام هاي الشغلات صراحة.